Okay, in this movie what I want to talk about is just how to create a spot color separation versus a process color separation, and what separations are as opposed to just composite printing. In the previous movie I made some Pantone colors. You notice that I've applied them to a couple of boxes here. No fancy artwork. The Pantone colors, when you use them in a document, they become available as swatches. I'm just going to go ahead and remove this my own spot color that I created. I'm going to just delete that. You can just press delete swatch. I could also make a new swatch if I wanted just by clicking on this button. Alright, so I have my three color job, the two Pantone colors and black outline. If I go to File and choose Print, I'm going to get a specialized Illustrator dialog box. Now, here's the thing that you want to do when you're printing separations. Under Output, notice that it's right now set to composite mode. If I come under this and choose separations instead, all of a sudden I get this breakdown that shows me where the colors are going to separate. And luckily, in this particular case, everything looks like it's going to separate properly. I have Process Black, which, as I mentioned, is in the strokes of these shapes. That's going to print. The printer icon indicates it will print. I have Pantone 125, and it indicates where that's going to print. And I have Pantone 348, and the printer shows that it's going to print as well. Now, if I were really working on this correctly, what I would do is I'd come in and adjust the angles on these. You typically want 15-degree differences for your colors so that when they overlap, they're going to look okay. So I might come in here and set this one to 60, and I might set this one to 30, just so that these colors are going to sit off of each other a little bit. But notice that it's going to go ahead and output correctly. Now I can also turn on marks. I can have all the printer marks show up. And if I choose a different paper type, let's come back up to Setup. Let's see if I could choose, I could maybe have this be a little bit larger. I need to, be in the right field for this. Under Media, let's choose something like Legal. In a case like this, notice that with legal paper, the printer marks actually show up because the printer marks are going to be defined outside of the printing region. My printing region right now is letter size document. It's important to understand that your document size or your artboard size doesn't necessarily have to be your paper size. A lot of times you want to print to larger paper so that you can bleed colors off the edge. So I'm going to just press Done here just so that we can come back and look at this a little further. I'm going to change my artboard size here just to make this point. I'm going to make the artboard just a little bit smaller. And to do that, I can go into Document Setup. And instead of letter size here, let's just choose 5 inches by 5 inches. Notice that since I'm in points, it automatically converts into points for me. I have 72 points an inch. Alright, when I do that, this gets quite a bit smaller. And we now have a situation where we have some colors bleeding off the edge. The edge of our artboard obviously is defined here. We have color coming off the edge. Let's go back to the print dialog box here. And now you'll notice that with my marks and bleeds turned on, everything comes right up to the edge of the artboard and stops. Now, this can be okay, but if you're doing any kind of color work, what you really need to do is have the color bleed beyond the live area into kind of this production area. The reason you need to do that is so that if there's an error when the cropping is taking place, you're going to have the color extend all the way to the edge. Even if the edge is off by 1/16 of an inch or 1/8 of an inch, the bleed will take care of that. people don't pick up errors as easily if they see the color running to all the way to the edge. You're going to notice an error if you see a little white sliver where there should be some color. So get in the habit, if you have colors that extend to the edge, get in the habit of creating a bleed here, and a nice bleed is 1/8 of an inch. 1/8 of an inch, we can put in 0.125 inches, and you can see it's 9 points. So now we have a 9-point bleed going out beyond the edge of all these. The little link box just means that this is a symmetrical bleed. It'll bleed out in all directions. Now, we don't have to do that. I could turn this off and then I could adjust all of these separately. Some pre-press people will be really into asymmetrical bleeds because you can save some money there. But in any case, what we need to do here is just have this bleed off on all edges. That'll be fine for what our purposes are. And then let's come back to where I was talking about separation. So when we print the plates here, we would end up with 3 plates, one for each of these colors. And if we had any overlap, we'd actually see the overlap there. And it's going to output to legal, and since I've made the document size smaller, let's go back and set that to letter so we could actually output this. I can set this back to define by driver. That would be fine. It would end up doing the letter size. Or I can just come in and I'll just choose letter here. And now we see our preview updates to show us that our 5x5 document will print to our 8.5 by 11 paper with printer's marks, with bleeds, and when it outputs, it's going to output separations. It's important to understand that when you print separations, you're just going to get various shades of gray. Don't worry about trying to get color prints when you're printing separations. The other important thing to understand is that only PostScript printers support separations. If I come in here and choose, let's choose my inkjet printer here. I'll just choose standard. Notice what happens is I lose the PPD. PPD stands for PostScript printer description, and this automatically defaults to composite. I can't print separations using a non-PostScript printer. Now there's a way around this. I can go back and set this to 630 and then print to my LaserWriter 630. Or here's another thing you can do. You can also, if you have Adobe Acrobat, you could print an Acrobat file, and this will actually save out separations for you. Let's try it out. I don't know if it'll work or not, but let's give it a shot. I'm going to go ahead and print this using Acrobat PDF 7. It's working away. I can hear the hard disk spinning. I've had mixed results about whether this works or not, so we'll try it out and see what happens. I heard it spin around there for a little bit. Let me save the document. I'll just save it to the desktop. Alright, let's just use operating system dialog. Notice this while you're in here. Adobe CS2 now has the Adobe dialog. You can choose to use this or just use the operating system dialog. Go ahead and choose junk here. Save it out. Let's come out to the desktop. On the desktop, here's my PDF file. Go ahead and open that up. Here I am in Acrobat, and sure enough, when I save the Acrobat file, I just got one page composite. Let's come back here to junk. Let's see if I forgot to set that to separate. Let's bring this back. Yep, I forgot to set it to separate. So let's try separations here. Adobe PDF. We'll give it one more shot. Let's see what happens. Notice that 3 pages went by that time rather than just 1. I'm going to go ahead and save my document. And let's check and see if it generated anything on the desktop. I have the junk.pdf. Let's see if that opens up. Aha, here it is. So now you get a chance to see how the separations actually look. Here's our processed black plate. The only thing on this plate are the strokes. It separated out those strokes. On the second page we have Pantone 125C. I'm only using 100% of that, and notice that it's bleeding. It's going beyond the edge of our crop marks here. And then finally down here I have Pantone 348. You can see why having printer marks is so critical, so that we can see what we're actually getting. And again, we're getting these items moving beyond the edge of the live area. Here's where it gets cropped, right down here. And you can see it's actually going to cut off these items. And it tells us what time it's making this at and what angle and all of that stuff. So that's really helpful for us to be able to determine whether we're getting this correctly. Now, this is the workaround if you don't have a PostScript printer and you want to print your separations at home. You could save it as a PDF like we did here, and then go ahead and print this to your inkjet printer. By now, the inkjet printer and Illustrator don't have any relationship with each other. It's just a PDF file. So you could conceivably go about doing that if you wanted to generate separations and print them at home. Just don't expect them to be in color. They're always going to be black and white, and if you have a tint color, you're going to see that tint in a gray. So coming back here to Illustrator, let's just recap again. I've used spot colors here, and when I've separated them, Command P, if I go under Output, to create separations, you choose separations rather than composite. You have to do this with a PostScript device selected up above. And then at that point, you can choose whether you're going to have marks and bleeds and so forth. Now, one last thing I wanted to point out. There is occasion where you need to separate your spot colors into process colors so that they print actually into process colors. To do that, it's very easy. You come over these guys where it shows the little spot color icon. If you click, notice that it changes it into 4-color process. So if I do that, now it's going to actually output these guys out onto the correct process color plates. Now, you're not going to do this with a lot of Pantone colors because you want to get the special mixture that Pantone provides rather than just having them process separate. But you can do this if you're in a bind and you need to have items just come out on process plates. For instance, maybe you set up a whole job with your client saying, oh, I can pay for, spot colors plus process colors, which would be an expensive job. And then the client comes back and says, oh, you know what, all I can do is have it process color separated. Illustrator makes that easy. You just click these buttons and you can do that. Otherwise, it'll print out just using these plates, which is the typical 1 or 2 or 3 color print process that you see a lot. So in this movie, I hope you got an idea of how to take some of the colors we've generated, apply them, and how spot colors and especially global colors are a little different. Again, you get this little tint slider, and when they separate, spot colors come out on their own plates rather than 4-color plates. Okay.